Well, hello there, Modern World History students. We are ready to go with a flipped lecture. Just going to go ahead and since we've been devoted to our projects in class, want to finish off some last finishing touches for the Industrial Revolution. We spent a great deal of time talking about, of course, the start of the Industrial Revolution, the build-up, the pros, the cons, the impacts, and now, of course, you are taking that information and applying to current industrialization, where you guys are researching your product, which is the true cost of miscellaneous product. All right, so just a quick recap before we get into the notes. Start of Industrial Revolution, we did mention it takes place in England, and there's a couple of reasons why England is that sets the stage for industrialization. Number one, I mentioned right there on the screen, I want to connect to the fact that England has the land, it has the labor, and it has the capital, in the sense that that's really what a country needs if it's actually going to start changing from this shift, industrialization, which is making stuff by hand, to using machines and manufacturing technology. So we need the land. England has natural resources. These, like we talked about in class, are the coal and the natural rivers and the iron ore deposits. England also has the development of capital. So capital, we're talking about the money, the resources, or even the human-made resources such as machinery and tools. And then finally, England also has the population, or has the labor. If you want to actually industrialize, you need the people to do the work. And one of the reasons why we have that increase of population, of course, was due to our discussion of the agricultural revolution. Agricultural revolution, we have a change using a variety of enclosure movement and crop rotation. We have more food. We have people living longer. We have people also, again, due to the technology, looking for jobs, and that's going to move them to the cities, especially with the rise of, on the screen it says, the textile industry. So, reminder, the textile industry, we're talking about the wool, we're talking about the cotton, we're talking about the flax, talking about the fabric, and really this was the first shift. We saw in England the cottage industry, where people were spinning and weaving fabric and fibers in their houses or their cottages. And when we see the introduction of these new machines, they're getting larger and more efficient. Now we're building these houses, so to speak, for the machines in the textile industry. So finally, I want to remind you, in class we analyzed a series of documents of why the Industrial Revolution is known as progress and pain. As far as the pain goes, we mentioned multiple times, we're talking about death, we're talking about disease, talking about long working hours, upwards of 16, 17-hour days, poor, unsafe working conditions, no organized system of trying to fight for fair pay or wages, kids didn't have access to education. So there's a lot of things that necessarily, pollution I could add, it makes it very painful as far as the impacts. But at the same time, we also looked at the fact that there was some progress made. Eventually, we do get healthier diets, and we get better housing for people of England. We also see eventually that we see cheaper mass-produced clothing and different products. And we also see the increase of a middle class. Eventually, there are some people that are, through hard work and dedication, they're gradually going to improve their lives and get higher wages, but that is a progress or a long doing. All right, so the first set of notes I want to take a look at is in section 3. It talks about, if we know what goes down in England specifically, the question is, when does this change begin to go to the United States of America, close to our own history? So number one, I want to talk about the fact the United States has those natural resources that really make it beneficial to start industrializing. America, it has the fast-flowing rivers. So rivers are going to be a source of water power, especially in early industrial machines. America also has rich deposits of coal and iron. And eventually, of course, America is going to have a supply made up of farm workers and also immigrants. So the United States of America, we are a nation of immigrants, so our own history book, so they have that labor, capital, and land. Another thing that the textbook mentioned is the United States, because it was involved in a war, we're not going to go into the backstory, but this was mentioned in 8th grade history. The War of 1812 really cut off America due to a British blockade. They basically cut us off from trade. And so it kind of really forced America to become more self-sufficient and learn how to manufacture and create these new products that they were able to function without shipping things overseas to Britain and other European countries. Now, just like we saw in Britain, America is also going to have the textile industry is going to develop first. So other investors, we're going to have mechanization of manufactured cloth. We're going to have weaving. We're going to have those mills. That's kind of where we set the stage for America. The other thing, of course, is the fact that America is going to have the introduction of, or the expansion of, railroads. So if you take a look at the screen over here on the right, you can see this map is looking around 1860. So this is, again, we see early on kind of in the northwest and over towards the Mississippi River, the introduction of railroads. Look here again as we jump, you see how these red lines represent, this is about 1880. So one of the things, of course, you'll notice is some of these red lines are going to go all the way across to California. So United States of America is going to develop what they call the transcontinental, meaning, again, it goes across the entire United States. So the fact that the United States has railroads plays a major factor in terms of how it actually industrializes. Cities like Chicago, which are located in the center, Chicago right here, Minneapolis, they are going to sort of boom up as these industrial centers like we saw in Britain, cities like London and Manchester and Liverpool. The other thing we see in the United States, we call something called the rise of corporations. And building these large businesses required a lot of money, a lot of capital to invest. So to kind of, raise the money and kind of come together, a lot of business people or entrepreneurs, they sold actually pieces of the company, and those pieces of companies are called stock. So if you buy stock in a company, and we still have the stock market today, you basically give your money and you're investing in a company or these businesses, which are also called corporations. So some of the big corporations or these big companies, and you'll really dive into this next year in U.S. history, we have oil companies, which are, we have U.S. Well-known people known as Carnegie. We also have Rockefeller with the steel, or Carnegie with the steel company. So pretty much oil and steel, the building blocks for industrialization. We have big business entrepreneurs and business guys investing in and making America a strong industrial country. Here's another just little picture to take a look. So we can see Carnegie right over here with the steel company towards the left. Then we have a picture of Rockefeller, which is going to be known for his Standard Oil. And then also John P. Morgan is an investment. So the Morgan company and corporation is still around today. And these guys are kind of the nicknames as the captains of industry. These are the three that really get the ball rolling to have America be an industrial power. Now, also besides the fact that we have England industrializing and it's spread across the Atlantic Ocean to the United States, it says Continental Europe also industrializes. So obviously, Britain is going to be sending ideas, and nearby countries are kind of starting to investigate what is Britain doing. So one of the countries that's featured is Belgium. Belgium, like Britain, has those natural resources. It discovers it has lots of natural resources, and it also is smart enough to talk to a lot of the British people, and British skilled workers played a valuable role in actually helping Belgium industrialize. People are going to migrate over to Belgium, give them ideas, start companies over there. So that's one European country that's definitely going to benefit from talking to the British, how they industrialize. All right, here's a little map just to take a look at on the screen. So here we have England, or Great Britain, right here, and this kind of tiny little pink, kind of maroonish kind of country right here, that's the country of Belgium. So you can see it's not too far away to get ideas, technology, machines, and people actually moving over to Belgium. The other country I want to highlight that is kind of next is Germany. Germany is also going to have the benefit of borrowing ideas, equipment, engineers, and they already have those iron and coal deposits that are essential. Just like the United States and just like Britain also, Germany is very smart to invest its time and money in actually creating the railroads. Now, eventually we're going to see, more countries kind of hop along. Not every country in Europe is going to industrialize. France is going to come later down the line, not probably till 1830s, 1850s. Remember, we talked about France during the French Revolution. It definitely goes through a journey. So it will be kind of delayed, but it will soon follow suit and move towards this global industrialization. All right, finally, the last slide, or the last section of your notes, talks about the impact of industrialization. So this whole concept of global inequality. So if some countries are industrialized, they have machines, they have technology, they have transportation, um, they're going to begin kind of developing relationships with other countries around the world that kind of gives them a position of power as far as giving and taking. So we're going to see that European countries that are industrialized, and you could even argue America as well, they're going to be looking around the world for raw materials. They're going to look for more of those iron and coal and rubber and wood and gold and diamonds and cotton and all these sort of, raw materials that they can then go back and take to their factories to turn into manufactured products. Now, of course, if you make something, you want to obviously sell it. So the other relationship that begins developing is the fact that European countries begin selling their products overseas to these different parts around the world. So this is kind of a sneak preview where we're going in terms of one of the words on the screen says imperialism. And imperialism is when a country takes political, economic, social control. A strong industrialized country takes control of other countries and other areas around the world. So when we come back from winter break, for example, we're going to dive into how Africa is taken advantage or colonized or imperialized by these European industrial powers. Overall, the Industrial Revolution is a period of great transformation, I should say. The word revolution means change. So we see the change in agriculture, okay? More food, we increase population. That's a tremendous asset. We see the change in terms of production, how and where and we make things. So the fact we're not making things in small workshops, we're working on things in these factories. Transportation, keep mentioning the railroad, but I also want to mention, of course, when we're talking about global transportation, introduction of the steamship that we can travel overseas, and communication. So the fact that we can communicate, we'll see later on the telegraph, we're going to see the telephone, we're going to see these methods of communication, which is going to turn the world into a more globalized community. All right, so that being said, I want to go ahead and pause right there and take a minute based on this lecture to annotate your notes. And these are the notes that you're actually going to be able to use on the quiz on Friday. All right, so this concludes lecture number 1. So gear up for lecture number 2 coming at you in just one moment.